today's workshop, What Dogs Really Want. And today we're going to do part one and answer the question, what is it that dogs really want? We sometimes think we know what they want, but we're not always really on target with that. So a lot of times we look at a dog and say, oh, he just wants attention. And that's probably true. But why does the dog want attention? What's so important about that? Think about the difference between feeling ignored and feeling that somebody's really attentive to you, really listening to you. Doesn't that give you a feeling of self-confidence and of belonging? Dogs are social creatures. They want to feel like they belong. And when we give them attention in a positive, constructive way, then they do feel like they belong to the social fabric, which is the family. feeling that feeling of belonging also gives them the sense that they kind of can control what goes on around them. So many times we feel as if the control of our animals is just one-sided, that they have to listen to us, they have to be obedient, they have to do what we say. We have to have control over them, otherwise they're going to get control over us. And it doesn't really work that way. The relationship between an animal, a family pet like a dog, and a human is based on cooperation and give and take. That's the joy of living with a dog, that there's a feeling of understanding, that I understand you and you understand me, and the dog has a certain amount of control over his environment and over his surroundings. He's not uh, feeling that he has no choice, that he has to do this or that or whatever he's told, otherwise something bad is going to happen to him. That's not giving a dog agency. Agency is something that is so profound and so important, it's actually a fundamental right. Dogs have the right to choose what happens to them. So when they do have that feeling that they can choose what happens to them, it gives them a feeling of safety. And after all, isn't that what we all want? Dogs have, just like us, dogs have that fundamental right to feel safe in their environment. So what dogs really want when they're asking for attention, yeah, they want to feel like they belong in a family. They belong to a group, into a social unit. And they want to feel like they have control over things that go on around them, that their consent to about what happens to them really matters. And that makes them feel safe. So let's look a little bit more closely at what feeling safe is all about. When you feel safe, you know that things are happening to you with your consent, um, that you're not just a victim of circumstances around you that you just have no control over. So ha giving dogs the power to give their consent to what happens to them is really important. You feel safe when you know you can opt out. So, for example, if you're afraid of roller coasters and you don't want to go on that roller coaster ride, you have the freedom to say, nope, not for me. I'm not doing that. I don't feel safe. I'm going to opt out. Do dogs always have that choice, or do we sometimes force them into situations where they really don't feel safe? Something to think about. And also, we feel safe when we can control the results of our choices. So a dog understands, and this is actually the foundation of positive reinforcement training, is that the dog understands, if I choose this, something good is going to happen to me. But if I don't choose that, if I pass on that choice, then I don't get that good reward. So notice that there's no sense of fear involved there, that if I don't choose this, something bad is going to happen. It's just that if I don't make that choice, I'm going to miss out on something good. So that's what I mean when I say control over choices. So when we think about what a dog really wants, the question, of course, comes up is, well, how do I give the dog what he really wants? And should I do that? And does it matter? And is the dog, if I just give the dog what he wants, is he just going to be totally out of control? And the answer to that is no, the dog's not going to be totally out of control. What we're talking about when we say giving the dog what he really wants is satisfying the dog's need for agency, to feel that he has consent over the things that happen to him, and to feel that he has some kind of control over the results of his choices. So, how can we do that? First of all, whatever your dog is doing that you don't want, just keep in mind that where you focus your attention is where the thing is going to grow. So let's say your dog is barking or jumping on you. That's, that's common. Barking at um, things that the dog sees out the window, or jumping on you. If you focus all your attention on that and wait until that behavior occurs and then zero right in with all your attention, even though it's negative attention and you think that you are reprimanding or scolding the dog in order to prevent it from happening again, the more you focus on something, the bigger it gets. So how has that worked in the past? When you focus your attention on your dog jumping on you and scold him and maybe push him down, or do whatever you need to do to stop him from jumping, if he's already jumping on you and you're focusing your attention on him and on the jumping, doesn't it make sense that the jumping is going to continue to grow? Because that's what you're focusing on. So how do you give the dog what he wants? When he jumps on you, he wants attention because he wants to feel that he belongs, he's part of the family, and he wants to feel safe because you're including him. So what can you do instead to give the dog what he wants, to give him that attention and that feeling of safety? Put your attention on what you want the dog to do instead. How often do you praise your dog and and reward him when his 4 feet are on the floor? If he's just standing there, do you ever walk over and just pet him and tell him what a good boy he is? So put your attention on the thing that you want the dog to do instead of the other thing, and that's the thing that's going to grow. In order to do that, you need to interact with your dog with intention. You have to do that intentionally. Um, and the mindset that you approach it with is going to make a difference. If you approach your dog's behavior with the mindset of, oh, what's he going to do now that's naughty, and you expect him to misbehave, well, guess what? That's what's going to happen. But if you approach it with the mindset of, I'm looking for the good things, you intensify your awareness of the things that you want your dog to do, and you capture those things because your mind is focused on the things that you want to grow. You want the behaviors that you like to grow. So you intensify your awareness of when those things happen, and you acknowledge them, you reinforce them. You make your dog feel safe and like he belongs when he's doing those things. 4 feet on the floor, what a good dog you are. Pet him, talk to him. You don't necessarily have to pet him. You don't have to give food treats for those things. You have to give the dog what he really wants, that feeling of being in that safe bubble with you. Um, so the things that matter when you're acknowledging your dog are your tone of voice that comes from your mindset. You're not going to fool the dog by faking um, a feeling that you don't really have. That doesn't work. If you've ever tried it, you know I'm right about that. So your tone of voice has to come from a sincere place where you really appreciate what your dog is doing. You feel grateful to your dog. Look at you being such a good boy with your feet on the floor and just wagging your tail and accepting my praise and my attention. Now, if your dog misbehaves when you offer him that praise and that attention, then you're just going to withdraw it. You might withdraw it by just stopping talking to him, or you might even have to just walk out of the room for a minute. I don't mean isolate the dog forever. I mean just walk out of the room for a minute, or just walk away from the dog, or go do something different. And then when the desirable behavior resumes, you can resume your positive feedback. So your tone of voice matters. Gentle, friendly, loving, affectionate. Your facial expression matters. Smile at your dog. Your smile is going to come through in the way your eyes look. Let your smile go all the way to your eyes. So you're making eye contact with your dog with a smile, with a sweet, gentle facial expression, and you're speaking to him in a quiet, loving voice, and your touch is slow and gentle and calm. If you're petting a dog that tends to get overexcited, you don't want to be petting him by patting him and scratching him and slappy happy patting your dog. You don't want to do that, because that's just going to get him all aroused and excited. You want your petting to be gentle and slow. Scratch him on his chest. If he gets a little bit mouthy when you pet him on his head, then just pet him on his shoulders or on his back, scratch him on his chest, and keep your touch and your body language really calm and relaxed and gentle. So to help you out with all of that, I have a little checklist for you. And that checklist lists some of the things that I just mentioned for you to do. And it also has a couple of pages where you can write down the things that you have tried with your dog and how it's all worked. And I recommend that you print this checklist and fill it out with a pen or a pencil. Write down the things, because that really helps to kind of keep track in your own mind of how well you're doing with it. So the link for you to download the PDF checklist is below this video. So go ahead and click on that, print it out, and start to fill it out. And what I'd love is to have you leave a comment under this video with anything that you've tried with your dog, or maybe a struggle that you're having that you really would like some advice about. I promise that I will read your comments and answer you. So go ahead and do that. Leave a comment, ask a question, and if someone else asks a question and you feel like you've got a good answer, or you want to share something that you think will be helpful, then by all means do that, because we're here to help each other out. Okay, so that's your homework for today. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about part 2, which is all about obedience training. We've kind of been led to believe that the solution to every kind of behavior problem that our dogs have is strict obedience training. Get the dog to respond to commands. And if he doesn't respond to a command, then we're going to correct him. And what I want to talk with you about tomorrow is that all of that is kind of a myth, guys. It's not really the answer, and I'm going to tell you why. And I'm speaking from someone who has taught obedience training for many years. And modern dog behavior research has shown us that what we have always done in the past may not be the best thing to continue doing for the future. So I'm going to talk a little bit about science, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what we've done in the past, why it maybe hasn't worked as well as it could have, and what we can do instead. So stay tuned. Watch for the link for tomorrow's video, and I'll see you all then. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.